Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and we've got ourselves a mailbag podcast. Got a lot of good questions coming off of the Giants' loss to the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. But as Brian Daboll said to the team on Monday morning, Justin, the season starts now. The Cowboys are the 5 seed. We are the 6 seed at 7-4, and the 7 seed Commanders are 7-5, and then you have the 6-5 Seahawks. Beat the Commanders. Beat the Commanders, and everything kind of gets back on track with this season. Justin, how are you?
Hey, Bobby Skinner. I really have liked how Brian Daboll and staff, and it seems like the team have kind of kept like a very much week-to-week thought process on the season. You're not going to get too high. You're not going to get too low, but you know, we're going to be in December. The Giants are playing their first December game of the season this Sunday. So there does come a point where it's like, yeah, you know, these games in December certainly mean a lot more than they do in September. And it also kind of hit me too as I'm watching, you know, teams like the 49ers, the Bengals, you know, celebrate wins on Sunday. And then you have teams like the Ravens, the Titans, you know, the Jets, you know, are celebrating like, you know, they're Super Bowl contenders as well. What do all those teams have in common with the Giants, Bobby, that I just named?
Tell me.
They're all 7-4. We are all 7-4. And all those teams, I mean, especially the Ravens, the 49ers, the Bengals, and the Titans, all 7-4 teams that have aspirations that are higher, and they're looking forward to the postseason. So I know the Giants are in this weird spot right now, and Giants fans are kind of very, very low on this team, but I want to keep the perspective that this has been an awesome season, and it kind of, like Brian Daboll said, and like you said to start the show, it kind of does start again on Sunday, depending on what they can do.
No doubt. And listen, they went 6-1, and then these last 4 games they have went 1-3. So 7-4. Will we all sign for 7-4? Absolutely. But now that we've seen like coaching in play, you know, some players should be coming back from injury. I am like in the short term, like we got to beat the Commanders. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, I can't believe we lost to Dallas. That's unacceptable. But let's beat the Commanders. We got just as much talent on our roster as they do on theirs.
Yep.
You know, they may have it in some, you know, they have guys like Terry McLaurin. They definitely have good players, but we've got some good players too.
And there's a clear coaching advantage.
And there should be a clear quarterback advantage too.
Yep.
So I want to win this game. Like, I think the expectation should be to win this game. Was the Cowboys, it was like, you know, everyone's against us, you know, people predicting us to lose by 20 points. This is like, let's beat the Commanders at home, legacy game.
You'll be there. You're undefeated.
And I'm undefeated. We're going to have our tailgate L16 on the curb. We're going to have free food. Come have a good time. We will be there bright and early. Justin, you got anything before we get into this mailbag pod?
No, buy your tickets. You know, it's not just a huge game that Bobby and I are going to be there, and the Candlewick Diner is going to be catering. Christiana Tana is going to be there. We got to text LPG Joe Rubeck and remind him to show up, so he'll certainly be there. It's not just going to be big because of that, but this is just a big Giants game. This is a big Giants game to be at, and you're going to want to be at it. And I think the weather's looking pretty solid right now, but Danny King will tell us about that on Friday. So get your tickets. Come hang out with us.
Starts now. This episode was brought to you by some special people. Severin Liker. He would sever off his limb for a win on Sunday.
Severance package.
Grass man. He's just a man of grass. He's not the tree man. He's the grass man. James Sosinski. What up, baby? Fernando Oviedo. Justin, what high school did Blake Bortles go to? 1, 2, 3. Oviedo High School. Mark Davitt. He's got to have it. Nick R. And the R stands for returning to victories. New York Giants. And then Taylor Collier, who is just as fancy as they get. Justin, who are these people?
These wonderful people went to patreon.com/talkinggiants. $2 a month plus some other tiers. You get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. Bobby Skinner and I will be coming to you from the warehouse, the John Boy Media Warehouse in Jersey City on Sunday. So that's where we'll be chatting with the Patreon members. Bobby Skinner will also send you some stickers, magnets in the mail, and you also have an opportunity to win some shirt raffles twice a month. Quick note. I went to the Iron Bowl. Insane, awesome atmosphere. It was my first college game that I went to outside of going to Rutgers, which I guess does that really even count? Rutgers was exciting like 10 years ago, but Iron Bowl was absolutely awesome.
More like 15, 20.
It was it was 42-21, and Alabama fans were still all on their feet on a 3rd and 5, screaming their heads off for Alabama to get a 3rd down stop. So it was absolutely awesome. It's insane how much time Bryce Young has in the pocket. Saw some guys that maybe I hope can go to the Senior Bowl, and I'll be excited to watch in Mobile in a couple months. I cannot wait to go back to Alabama.
Alabama right around the corner. Take it away, Steve.
Mail time. Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail. Mail!
Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail. First question, is that a new hoodie, and is that our old hoodie with the old logo that's not very well done on it?
It's the old hoodie.
But did you buy it recently? Because
No.
It looks brand new.
No, I just haven't worn it in a while. I haven't worn it because it got small on me when I was bigger, and now that I'm smaller, it fits me. It fits me better. So
that
that's
was the
why I'm wearing
logo
it.
when we joined John Boy Media that John Boy did in 45 minutes. When we were the first show on John Boy Media besides, talking Yanks.
Look at that.
All right, first question.
Little history. Joey Mooney. Do you think Ben Bredesen, Nick Gates, and Josh Azudu should be the starting interior 3 going forward, and how much of an upgrade do you think they are over Lemieux, Feliciano, and Glowinski?
Freaking-lutely. Justin, let's start with Nick Gates. Because that was when I went to go, I was a little delayed in watching film this week because my brother got married. The first thing I went to go watch, Justin, was let's watch Nick Gates. Let's go see how Nick Gates performed. He is so much clearly better than John Feliciano, it's not even funny. He, in the run game, he is physical. He had 5 pancakes in this game. He gets to he works angles really well. The Saquon's best run was off of a Nick Gates pull. So, in the run game, it is clear cut, much better than Feliciano. And in the pass game, I think it's better too. He did have some bad pass pro reps. Not quick initial losses, but he did have some. His worst one was the last play of the game. He's better in pass pro than John Feliciano, and he has more potential in pass pro just because of his body and his athleticism. And then guess what? Does he fit the dirtbag mentality that Bobby Johnson looks for? He talks so much about John Feliciano. Nick Gates should absolutely be the starting center for this New York Giants team. And this is if this doesn't happen, we riot type stuff. I will bitch and moan all day long about why isn't he starting, even though this Commanders game is going to be tough. This Commanders game is about as tough as a matchup as you could get for an interior offensive lineman.
I think that might be the reason why Nick Gates needs to play even more. Because you're going to have Daron Payne, because you're going to have Jonathan Allen. You're going to have those two. There's even my guy from Arkansas.
John Ridgway.
John Ridgway.
He's been playing well for them.
And Fidarian Mathis. Those are 4 interior defensive linemen who are awesome. It's actually should be illegal for Washington to have that interior defensive lineman.
How did Ridgway get cut? It didn't make no sense to me.
Yeah, for the Cowboys. I don't know how that happened. They must have just had too many numbers. And then Washington, the rich get richer at that spot. But anyway, I think that's even more of a reason if, Feliciano and Gates are both healthy, that's even more of a reason that Gates should play. Hey, he may not have his best game because Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen are 2 of the best, interior guys in the league. But, Nick Gates is a better football player. And I think the run game will operate a lot better. And I think him, being an anchor up front is extremely valuable when this offense is just desperate for throwing the ball down the field. And they really can't do it on any consistent basis, whether that is because of the O-line, the wide receivers, whatever. Nick Gates can be part of the answer on how this Giants running game can get fixed and how the pass blocking can get more shored up.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nick Gates has to be starting center. And then, so Bredesen was designated to return this week. Maybe Azudu gets healthy. Bredesen has to play, whether that's at left guard or right guard. And my eye test back, is a huge part of that, but also the numbers back it up. In pass blocking, Bredesen's allowing a sack, hit or pressure 1 in every 36 pass pro reps. Glowinski gets 1 in every 17. Azudu is 1 in 11. And then Azudu and Glowinski have both given up 3 sacks. Bredesen 0. Obviously, Bredesen's coming back off injury, which might be the biggest. You know, we talk about Shane Lemieux injury issues. Bredesen's been hurt a lot too in his career. It didn't get brought up a lot in the last season, but he did get hurt like a few times. But Bredesen has to start, and then I would prefer that Azudu. I think what he's done the last month in relief of Bredesen is enough to be like, all right, we can let this guy come and play, and it's not a total like destruction of the offense. And I would like to see Bredesen at right guard. Let's get the youth movement going. And again, it's not like Glowinski's average and fans don't appreciate average. It's like, no, Glowinski's playing pretty damn bad. And Bredesen's better than him. And Azudu was just drafted in the 3rd round and has done some good stuff in the run game and has improved in the pass, bro.
I don't think Glowinski goes anywhere, though. That's the thing. Where I agree with you.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he goes anywhere.
Yeah. It's a test, though. Like, I saw people being like, well, they did this with Galladay. And like we said, I think this is maybe not even the biggest test for the end of this season, because it's not, again, like if they put Azudu on the bench and start Glowinski, it's hard to you can't just flat out say Azudu is the flat out better player, he should be playing. Bredesen should be playing, but Azudu, you can't make that argument.
Azudu's a draft pick that needs to develop, so that's why it makes sense to put him over Bredesen.
Yeah, but Bredesen is so much better than both those guys that putting Bredesen on the bench would be malpractice. Okay, like if Glowinski is going to start the rest of the year and said, all right, who starts, Bredesen or Azudu? I'm going Bredesen. Okay. He helps the team win. We need the passing game to be better. Bredesen helps do that. And he's been okay in the run game. He's not the athlete that Azudu provides in the run game, but he's been okay in the run game.
Or is it even like we kind of just talked about Nick Gates at center lock? Is that even a lock? The fact that they trotted him out to the media on Monday, I think is a good thing. You know, Nick Gates talking about being, the leader of the huddle before Daniel Jones gets out there and how he's a vocal leader. I thought, that was kind of a good thing that the Giants trotted him out there to the media. I don't know if that has any indication on whether he's going to start on Sunday or not.
Well, we don't even know how serious Feliciano's injury is. Like, right. Feliciano could be an automatic scratch for this week, no matter what their plans were.
Right.
So that's across that bridge when we get there. But
Mailbag.
We shouldn't even have to cross that bridge. That decision should have been made that Nick Gates should be the starting center for the rest of the season, or we riot.
No, I just wanted to throw that out there because we're talking about obviously a little bit more in depth of Glowinski, Azudu, Bredesen, but if everybody's healthy, I don't know if it's a slam dunk that Nick Gates should be over. I don't know if it's a slam dunk that it is Nick Gates over John Feliciano, even though it should be. There you go. That's the correct way to word that. Next question.
Next question.
NYG fan in Charlotte, Research Rick. Since Wink's hiring, you've repeatedly said, and this is me, I've repeatedly said this.
I've said this too because it's true.
You've said, okay. He's always great against the run. The Giants do not have a very good rushing defense this year. So what is the disconnection? Let's talk about that.
You can read all of his stuff if you want.
Yeah, yes. I mean, well, there was even more that he brought up in a reply to me as well, because this is such a complicated question that I don't even have the answer to. So where's the disconnect on why Wink Martindale's run defenses have been good in the past and then bad this year? No second run stuffing defensive end. Is it all the interior linebackers' fault? Is it injuries? And then Research Rick even goes further in a reply to me. Did Joe Shane overestimate what the personnel could do? Justin Ellis being bad? Did they project that DJ Davidson would be better? There's all these certain things that why this run defense could be bad. I want to hear your thoughts on the film side of things.
Well, I want to go remind people because why the reason we said, like last year, 2021, who's the number one run defense in the NFL? Wink Martindale and the Baltimore Ravens. 2020, they were 8th, even though they weren't very good in yards per carry, but they were 8th in total rushing. And then 2019, number 5 rushing defense. 2018, number 4 rushing defense. The main thing, and I think it's the main thing by a lot, is that our linebackers just suck. and especially our Mike linebacker, whether that was Tate Crowder or now Jalen Smith, our Mike linebackers are just bad. They are slow reading the offense, the run game. They are bad getting off of blocks, and they overreact, and they get killed on misdirection because they overreact. Like, I really think it's as simple as they just don't have a Mike linebacker on this roster. Like, they are very bad at that spot. Like, Jalen Smith was a free agent into the season this year. He didn't go to camp, and now he is the starting Mike linebacker. And he's replacing Tate Crowder, which I honestly think Tate Crowder should be the starting Mike linebacker over Jalen Smith, and then Mike McFadden, the number 2. And that's not a ringing endorsement of Tate Crowder. I just think he's better than Jalen Smith at this point, especially at that Mike spot. If you're asking me about the weak side, I would probably put Jalen Smith over Tate Crowder, actually. But I would much rather have Tate Crowder. So it's just we're bad at linebacker.
Yeah, I'd agree with you that if I had to put most of my chips on one element, that it would be the interior linebackers. But I also think it's kind of like...
I think it's their biggest position weakness on the team, like worse than wide receiver.
It's kind of an NFL problem right now, too. Because you're seeing how, there's a lot of teams almost every week, besides this last quarter of the season, but almost every week so far this season, we've said this team is bad against the run, this team is bad against the run, this team is bad against the run. We're not really talking about, the Giants are playing a really dominant Mike linebacker this week, where this guy's just going to flow sideline to sideline, or he's going to win in a phone booth, and you can't get anything by him. I mean, we haven't played that team this year. There hasn't been, I don't think there's been almost a single opponent that we've played so far this year. We're on our preview pod. We're talking about a Mike linebacker that's really, holding down the fort and being a captain of a defense. And also one of the main differences of this year's defense for Wink Martindale compared to last year's, 2018, 30th. The Ravens defense was 30th in rushing attempts, so that's the third least. 2019, the least amount of rushing attempts against them. 2020, the third least amount of rushing attempts against them. 2021, the third least amount of rushing attempts against them. And this year, they're 17th. So teams are running the ball more against Wink Martindale's defense this year than they have in years past. And what really kind of, you can stop at, okay, the interior linebackers are bad, Bobby, but Patrick Queen, these last couple years for the Ravens, I know he's a first-round pick. He has not been great for the Ravens either. So the Ravens have kind of had their interior linebacker questions too, but Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence are much more talented than the interior defensive linemen that they have over there. I don't think the edge rushers are that much better against the run than what the Giants have right now. Maybe
they had
outside
good run edge setters.
Is Odafe Owe?
Yeah, Owe was only there for 1 year.
Yeah, so
I mean, Judon's really good versus the run. I mean, they've had good run, and they have depth with Baltimore Ravens. The Giants don't have depth.
That is exactly what I was going to get to. I do think the interior linebackers make up the crux of the problem, but when Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence are off the field, I mean, we are praying that we don't allow a run of 10, 15, 20 plus yards. We're praying. Like, that is one of the things that I look for every single Sunday especially when I'm at MetLife, when it's easier to see things like that, who's coming off the field, who's coming on the field. When I see that one of those two guys, or even both of them, are off the field at the same time, I am praying that we do not see an explosive run play. Not having Nick Williams, DJ Davidson, getting hurt, and maybe he was even a suspect draft pick to begin with. Justin Ellis not being good.
The third D lineman's usually a negative. Like the Zeke touchdown, Justin Ellis screwed it up.
Yeah,
everyone else did their job. Justin Ellis screwed it up. So the third D lineman is usually a negative, and you can see that in the way that the snap share that Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams are playing, and they're playing more outside linebackers. And the reason, and you talk about attempts, one, the Ravens probably were having some better offensive days than the Giants, but also, and they ran the ball so well.
The Giants are running the ball and holding the ball on offense too, so I don't want to totally dismiss that, but the Ravens were also putting up more points. But yes.
What I'm saying is Wink Martindale's defense does not invite versus the run with just the way that they line up. They stack the box. Like every game, Wink Martindale's defense is stacking the box and playing with a single high safety.
And when talking about the depth of the interior defensive line, I think that's even more of a reason that Leonard Williams needs to somehow stick around here. Because if we're talking about how bad the Giants' run defense is, and one of the main culprits is the third interior defensive lineman, and Giants fans think that Leonard Williams is just so, so easily replaceable, good luck.
Well, and when people talk about positional value, there's talking points to it, but I hate when, like, if you want to talk about running back or whatever, but when people say I don't get a linebacker, don't get D lineman, makes my skin freaking crawl. It's like, they are extremely valuable to both parts of the game, run and pass. And then people are like, well, this guy's not great coverage linebacker. It's like, show me where all these great NFL coverage linebackers are. Because they are far and few between. Like, most times it's just spot dropping and being smart. And if you're a really good run defending linebacker, you're usually smart enough to play your zones and pass coverage. Okay, they may not be Fred Warner, but they can drop back in coverage. It's the reason why Blake Martinez was never an issue for us. Coverage-wise, it's mostly has to do with scheme. So when the Packers had Blake Martinez playing man coverage on a slot wide receiver versus the Vikings, and he gives up an 80-yard touchdown, you know what? Maybe don't put your stack linebacker on a slot wide receiver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a concept.
So linebackers are the main issue. Third D line, and just teams have been able to get misdirection. Like, our linebackers have been very bad. So
yeah.
Why don't you read an ad and we'll do the next question?
Oh yeah, let's read an ad. I want to talk to you about Muggsy jeans. I was on an airplane. I went to the Iron Bowl, and I actually wore my Muggsy jeans, same jeans that I wore as an umpire for the Blitz Bowl League. I actually wore my Muggsy jeans on the plane because they legitimately feel like sweatpants. I like looking good when I go to the airport. I'm kind of a little old school like that. I don't like looking like a bum rolling up to the airport. I like to roll around with style, I like to fly with style. And Muggsy jeans helps me fly with style, look good, while also feeling really good as well. So it's officially jean season. So let me introduce you to Muggsy, the only jeans you'll ever want to wear again, not need to wear again, but you want to wear again. The most damn comfortable denim ever made and designed to fit you perfectly every single time. And Muggsy is having their biggest sale of the year. Early access Black Friday sale. The entire site will be up to 30% off all of your favorites with free shipping and free returns as always. This is it. This is when holiday legends are made. Establish yourself as the greatest gift giver in history, or treat yourself by heading over to Muggsy.com for up to 30% off the entire site, full of the most comfortable and best looking jeans, pants, and tops this world has ever seen. That's Muggsy.com. No code is needed for up to 30% off your entire order with free shipping and free returns. If you don't like them, experience life-changing comfort with Muggsy.
You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Next question is coming from Olivia. Is there any edges left on the schedule that you think we should even worry a little bit about when going up against Andrew Thomas?
No.
Bobby? No. Zadarius Smith?
No. Not
Montez
a one.
Sweat?
Not a one.
Hassan Reddick?
Not a one.
Don't get the flu.
I'm not going to use the flu.
I'm worried about the flu as a possible edge rusher that could possibly sack Daniel Jones. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, here's what I will say is the guy got the flu at basically the worst possible time. Because Micah Parsons is really, really good. Like, he is the biggest handful as a pass rusher in the NFL right now. Like, if you want to argue that Garrett's better, but if there's one pass rusher who's just like a handful of preparing for, it is 100% Micah Parsons. I mean, his athleticism is unreal. His ability to change direction. Okay. In games where he has had more pass rush reps than, stack linebacker reps, there's 11 games, 12 sacks, 11 hits, 30 plus pressures, 53 in total. That's essentially almost 5 a game. In games where he had over 25 pass rush reps, there's 7. 42 total pressures, 10 sacks, 10 QB hits. I mean, the guy is just really freaking good. Christian Darrisaw only got to play 10 reps the week before versus the Cowboys before he left with injury. He had 2 pressures and 10 pass rush reps. You know how many he has the rest of the season? 10 and 383 pass blocking reps. Micah Parsons is just really, really good. And you pair that with Andrew Thomas being sick, and it was just a perfect storm of like, this matchup is going to be a handful for the rest of their careers. Like, this is Imano. You know, Thomas won the first game matched up against him, but it really is, because guess what? Parsons can kill you inside, which Thomas protects against the inside, but he has the athleticism. He's one of the few guys in the NFL who's just athletic enough to get around the corner on Thomas. You know, so where Thomas can cheat on the inside versus almost every other pass rusher in the NFL, you can't cheat on Parsons because he's too athletic. You're not going to be able to wash him around the edge consistently. So one, Thomas has to be better versus Micah Parsons in the next matchup. Needs to be healthy, but Micah Parsons is a freaking handful. Also, the first sack was a bootleg where Jones was not able to roll out. So PFF credited him with 1 sack allowed.
Tough. Yeah, we knew that Parsons was really good, and you know, if we know Andrew Thomas like we know him, he's got, you know, whenever that schedule comes out next year, he's going to have that first Dallas matchup circled. I honestly hope it's week 1. You know, Dallas is good, Giants are good. I'm kind of down to bring back Dallas Giants week 1. Put it in Jerry World. I don't care. I'm sure that Thomas is looking forward to matching up again, and especially with that tweet, that bullshit tweet.
Me too. Yeah. I'm so ready for that. It's like, were you tweeting that when you had, you know, no pressures, no sacks on him week 3? Because I think Parsons was sick that game. Were you using Micah Parsons? He seems like a weird dude, by the way. I hate him now. Like, I didn't hate him as much because, you know, the first 2 games, you know, last year he didn't play edge and he really didn't do anything. The week 3 game, he did some good stuff, but it was mostly like stunting in versus guys like Mark Lewinsky. Now the Giant fandom's coming out in me. I hate Micah Parsons, and I want to dominate his ass every single time we play him. I will be, if Andrew Thomas doesn't get beat like that, I will be tweeting at him. I will be instigating him, and I will. By the time their careers are over, I will get a Micah Parsons reply on Twitter. Like, that's how much I hate him. I'm going to instigate that.
A modern day John Runyon, Michael Strahan dance. How do you like that?
The opposite, though.
The opposite. Because Andrew Thomas is going to dominate the pass rush.
Yeah. Just
love it.
I hope, enjoy it, Micah Parsons. Enjoy it, because I promise you my boy's coming back.
In terms of interior...
Also, so now Andrew Thomas has 1 sack allowed in the season, so he's like every other left tackle in the NFL this year.
He's human. But in terms of like defenders that we're facing for the rest of the season, I'm a little bit more afraid of like the interior guys, especially with Washington. We talked about Payne. We talked about Jonathan Allen. Javon Hargrave for Philly is having like a really insanely good year too. He's having like a Dexter Lawrence type year. So, interior offensive line's got to hold up.
Yeah. All right, next question.
This is coming from John at Vanny Fresh 777. Gary Brightwell was running hard versus the Cowboys, and I think he deserves more carries while Barkley deals with his inner demons. Do you see Mike Kafka mixing Gary Brightwell into the offense more this week? And then, Bobby, you know, kind of in general, how do you improve this running game?
So I put this running back run game question in there specifically because it mentioned Gary Brightwell. I will not be saying we need to take Saquon Barkley out of the game, put Gary Brightwell in, and run the ball. What I will say is go watch the last 3 plays of the film review, and I went through those Gary Brightwell runs. They were lining Saquon Barkley as wingback.
Can I guess what you're going to say?
Yeah.
I mean, Saquon Barkley was basically like the decoy used on that play. And if you pause it, I mean, Gary Brightwell, there was a play where he made like a nice cut. But, I mean, there were holes that were wide open that I have not seen Saquon Barkley had the opportunity to run through as big of a hole in that over the last few weeks. So, Gary Brightwell, I think, while he did look explosive, while he did look good on those 2 10-plus yard runs, I think it was set up by Saquon Barkley also being on the field, being a decoy on that play. Is that where you were going?
Absolutely. And use misdirection. Give that ball to Saquon sometimes. Use what the Giants screwed them against them, screws them, and use misdirection. In a sense, if Brian Dable, Mike Kafka, you guys want to run the ball and be this run first team, which we'll talk about a little later, do it well. Do what the Baltimore Ravens do. Remember when we played the Ravens? They pulled guys every single play. Every single run play, they pulled guys.
And this is why having Nick Gates in the lineup is so significant, because he can do that stuff.
Don't be afraid to run behind your left tackle. Don't always make your all-pro left tackle the backside of a run play. Get outside the tackles. Throw a lot of different action at them. You know, the Cowboys did that little fake inside zone speed option to the opposite counter. Run that. Steal that, Mike Kafka. Let's make this run game freaking complex. You guys want to be good? You guys want to run the ball? It's not going to work just running it up the gut. We're getting run blitz to death, and our guys are not good enough to pick that up in zone. Let's throw some freaking. Let's keep these linebackers in this D line. Let's put them in hell by making them think every second of every snap. Because guess what? That's going to help with the pass rush too. Let's make this run. I know it's a lot to ask in the season, but you got a little 10-day break. Let's make this run game complex. Let's break out that Gary Brightwell wing back, wing T formation. Let's do it in the first and second quarter.
Yeah, and I think this is exactly why, if you do want to go Josh Azudu over Ben Bredesen, this would be the reason why you do it. If you do want to go Nick Gates over John Feliciano, this is exactly the reason why you do it. I've been advocating for more Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida on the field at the same time plays. I think that's the misdirection that you should see. I want Matt Breida going one way pre-snap or at the snap, and then Saquon Barkley going another way. And then a linebacker, you kind of have to make a choice. Am I going to go with Matt Breida, who has momentum under his belt, and he's going to get the ball here? Or is the ball going to be given to Saquon Barkley? And my eyes got to stay committed there. The Lions and the Giants' opponents have really made me appreciate and just love misdirection in the running game. You have offensive alignment flowing one way, and then the ball's going the other way. It is eye candy. It is things that you need to be disciplined with, and I don't think most NFL defenses are disciplined right now in terms of defending the run, since defending the pass is the number one priority in the NFL. It is the number one priority for an NFL defense. So if this, like you said, and I'm going to kind of rephrase it in a different way, if this Giants offense is going to solely survive on their running game, and they're only going to be successful if the running game is good, and it's going to sink when it's bad, then you have to make it complex and you have to make it diverse, because odds are against these defenses that you have coming up, against Minnesota, against the Colts, against Washington, you are not going to win mano-a-mano against these guys. You got to introduce some different stuff. You got to get some guys into space.
And is Saquon contributing to some of the bad run game the last couple weeks? Yeah. He's doing a little bit of dancing. Some of those dancing shoes have come back on a little bit. Is he running through guys the way he was early in the season? Yeah. But he's also been, it's been bad up front too, which that always brings out the worst in Saquon Barkley, which can be a bigger Saquon Barkley topic in discussion in general. But when Saquon Barkley's in space, that's when he's his best. So let's figure out ways to do the best that we can with him right now.
Yeah. I agree.
So, yeah, let me
talk about something really quick.
No, let's give him something to talk about.
Sure.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. It is my go-to when betting on NFL this NFL season. Start betting on the Giants again. People, now the times are changing. Start betting on the Giants again. Commanders going down. Down. Commanders going down. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. I do. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app now, place a same game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big ocean water. So bet the Giants this week, bet basketball, don't bet on the Nets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code JOHNBOY, place a $5 bet on an NFL team to win their game, and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JOHNBOY. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Next question. You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. I'm really passionate about this question. I'm really glad that Michael Rossi, thank you for asking it. Hope to see you at the Commanders game this Sunday. Mike Roz 56. Does the way that Dabes/Kafka call this offense in any way vindicate Joe Judge and Jason Garrett? I know that the actual play designs and motion are much better. Nonetheless, the way the games are called in a broad sense seem to be the same, and the previous regime rarely had Saquon Barkley.
Sounds like you got a lot to say on this. Absolutely not, because guess what was Justin? What was our biggest issue with Jason Garrett?
Well, couldn't
Play
score
design.
points. Oh, design. The route concepts didn't work off of each other. Nothing flowed. Nothing set anything up.
They never put defenders in conflicts. They never tested defenders. It was all isolation routes, and they were not even downfield isolation routes. They were quick, short isolation routes. So nothing ever worked together.
Oh, and by the way, what route has been the most successful route that Mike Kafka has called on a drop back passing like third down situation?
Curl.
Ding, ding, ding. That's funny because that was Garrett's staple, and he couldn't even run that right.
So I'm going to go off issues that like I had with Garrett that I don't have with this coaching staff. Again, the play design. The Giants play design with Kafka and Dable are good. They are good. With Judge and Garrett, it was not. It was all short isolation routes, the stick concepts. It was their bread and butter. Teams sat on it, and they never put defenders in conflict. And God, why do I keep referring to their former teams? The Garrett offense, they did not clear out space. And this Giants offense, now they clear out space. Third downs. How many times did we on third and short we'd throw the sticks, short of the sticks? And then in third and long, we'd almost give up under Jason Garrett. Nope, not in this offense. We don't give up on third down in this offense. Also, it sounds, but they had better wide receiver talent under
They did. Yes.
Jason Garrett than they do now. Like they had better wide receiver talent than they did now.
I hated Golden Tate. I'd for sure take a.
You should have appreciated Golden Tate like I did.
Yeah, I'd for sure take a 2019-2020 Golden Tate on this team right now.
Yeah, don't you? You don't know what you got till it's gone. Paved paradise, you put up a parking lot. So yeah, absolutely not. Like, yeah, so they're running with Saquon Barkley because it works well. Well, guess what? They didn't have Saquon Barkley. Like their run game was the best thing about Jason Garrett in 2020. Like when and the revamping of the run game, and that was the Joe Judge driven thing where after that first 6 weeks of the season, remember they could not run the ball at all. Like Correct. It was impossible. And then Joe Judge came in and added more gap running to this to it, and adding some like elements of the Patriots run offense that Jason Garrett and Mark Clomo just thought like, oh, this is Dallas Cowboys O-line. We could just run zone and be better than people and run a couple counters, and we're going to dominate guys up front. You weren't going to do that with that team. So,
and it's ironic that, again, Brian Dable and Mike Kafka have come from these pass-happy offenses, yet, they've been able to run the ball well. Obviously, we're asking for a little bit more creativity now that it hasn't been working the last few weeks, but they have brought the creativity to the running game and to the running offense and being successful in multiple ways.
And also, if you're perfect in this offense, it looks a lot better for Daniel Jones. If you're perfect in the Jason Garrett offense, it's still not very fun. Now, there's other things. There is gripes that we'll talk about in the next question, but people get caught up in I don't think we were ever. I'm sure there were times, but Matt, in a big picture, I was never like, the Joe Judge, Jason Garrett pass-run ratio really bothered me. It was always about the style of play, the playbook.
Yeah, I think 2020 maybe it was a little bit of a bother, but 2021, one of the weird things about the Giants offense is that they were one of the teams that threw the ball a lot on early downs. It just didn't go anywhere. It was not efficient. Routes didn't build off of each other, et cetera, et cetera. Like Bobby said. I mean, I really took a dive into Cowboys all 22, Giants offense specific Cowboys all 22, because I have 6 plays, and Julian and I are kind of working on this video right now where I really want to identify exactly how, like, Richie James is running a route here and he is clearing out. He's taking out this safety, and it opens up Isaiah Hodgins running a crossing pattern over the middle of the field, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, Isaiah Hodgins runs something and it opens up Lawrence Cager. You know, all these different things where I feel like it isn't even some of these big plays and some of these, you know, little chunk plays that we've seen on offense for the Giants this year, especially with these play action rollouts and these boots. It's not even like you need good players to run this. It's just the scheme. It's just these play calls that are getting these players in space, and it's doing enough to kind of keep this Giants offense afloat at times. It's just not enough. So that's been the impressive thing that Kafka does deserve more credit for, that I don't even feel like, you know, asking Richie James to just clear guys and clear space for somebody running a crossover over the middle of the field. That doesn't take, like, talent. It just takes a good coordinator and good play caller, and I don't think Kafka and Dable have been getting enough credit for that recently. And
they've just been more horizontal-based than vertical, which we're going to talk about the next question, which is a gripe I have with the offense.
Yeah, it is a gripe. But also, the results are vastly different, too, where we're 18th in points per drive, we're 11th in red zone percentage, and we're overall the 22nd scoring offense. I do think those numbers have gotten worse through these last couple weeks. Like, you know, when we were 7-2, I think we're a little bit better in points per drive. I think we're higher in. You keep track of scoring offense every week, right?
Yeah, we were at our best 16th, I believe.
16th average. I mean, what were we asking for this year? I was asking for average. I wasn't asking for above average. I was asking for average. So it's kind of crazy, and I mean, especially red zone percentage too. That we're still, you know, slightly out of the top 10 in red zone percentage, even with this little you know, losing streak that we're on.
Dead last in red zone percentage.
Yeah. So even though we're going to talk about explosive plays next, even though there's kind of a lot that's wrong with this offense, you just look at the key factors of scoring in the red zone and just scoring points in general, 2 things that we could not do over the last 2 years. The Giants are doing it now, and that's the biggest key and stat.
Also, not giving up on third down. All right, let's go.
Not giving up on, yeah, it keeps drives alive, and it puts points on the board. Mark Brewer and Doug Analytics, they have 2 questions together. Mark Brewer, I saw Justin posted about explosive plays and how we, again, are not hitting them at a good rate. Knowing our limitations with the wide receiver and the offensive line, what adjustments can be made to allow for more explosive plays? And then Doug Analytics, at Doug_Analytics, he asked, how detrimental is it that our explosive offense is either Darius Slayton or bust? Daniel Jones has the 6th lowest intended average air yards at 6.7 yards, while Darius Slayton has the 9th highest average depth to target with at least 40 targets, 13.1.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones this year has 15 20-plus deep attempts in 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
You have a margin error of 2. How many deep attempts did he have to Darius Slayton in 2019 in 12 games?
In 2019 in 12 games?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess 29.
That's a lot. 17. But in 12 games in 2019, Darius Slayton had more deep attempt targets than Daniel Jones just has in all deep attempt targets in 2022. He is having his lowest deep target percentage of his career. This year it's 4.7%. Last year it was 6.6. 2020 was 9.6, and then 2019 his rookie it was 12%. Even though he is having a career high in the 10 to 20 yard range, which I think we talk about difference between Kafka and Garrett. So here's the issues. They have no number 2 threat to beat them deep. It's only Slayton. Like Doug Analytics said. Like Hodgins is not a deep threat. You know, you can talk about back shoulders, but that's not a deep threat. But here's what I will say is, guess what? Just because Slayton's your only deep threat doesn't mean you can't keep throwing us on deep.
Correct.
Like he's not getting doubled over the top. Like just keep doing it. Like what you did versus the Cowboys, just keep doing it. Like he doesn't need to beat it. Just keep doing that. Run shallow cross with 2 outside deep throws on the outside. And guess what? If the safety starts shading over, let's toss a couple back shoulders at Isaiah Hodgins or Kenny Golladay. Let's just test and see if Marcus Johnson could get past the cornerback. Do it, because it creates points. Create 7 points on Thursday versus the Dallas Cowboys. That's how you create points. So, add more to this. Add more to this.
Created points against the Cowboys. It created points against the Jaguars. It created points against the Bears. It was the back and forth that I had on Sunday when talking about, well, how much is it? Is it Jones? How much is it the O-line? How much is it the wide receivers? And I kind of just came to the realization of, listen, you can like it or you cannot like it. Darius Slayton is this year's wide receiver 1. And Darius Slayton has done more than I think even what this coaching staff could think that he could do this year. You know, where he's having career bests in a lot of categories, especially the most important one being, catch rate, while having his yards per completion and average up to target being so high. Embrace Darius Slayton as your wide receiver 1, because if you don't do it, then the offense is going to continue to struggle like it is right now. Not saying that he deserves 12 targets a game, but embrace Darius Slayton as your wide receiver 1 in a run-heavy offense.
Also run 4 verts. We face all this single high coverage. We haven't run 4 verts like one time.
Yeah.
All these teams run these single high coverage. I know everyone runs man match nowadays, the Bill Belichick, Nick Saban defense. But they're not. Teams are keying in. You can do it out of play action. Let's start testing teams. Let's make sure that they're actually going to cover us deep if we send more than one guy deep or 2 guys deep on the sidelines. I
could see Lawrence Cager being a mismatch in 4 verts as a tight end.
Seriously, 4 verts is a play where it's it sounds stupid because we all ran it in Madden as kids, but it's it actually works. Okay, and then if they cover it really well, you put Saquon Barkley on a flare route out to the sideline if they run man match, and he should win that matchup. So let's start testing it out a little bit, because you know what? If this running game is not going to work, we're going to have to win games somehow, and it's going to have to be through creating big plays in the passing game. And Daniel Jones, year after year, has been good in that category, throwing the ball downfield, and it's not simply just because lack of attempts, so it's they're making the most out of their little bit of attempts. It helps.
Washington, Minnesota, and Indianapolis are all suspect, and they can be had through the air. It's their run defenses that are good. So, we've been talking about a lot of our opponents this year that they're bad against the run, and we should be able to run the ball. Well, we have some opponents coming up, including this Sunday, where throwing the ball will be an option if the Giants kind of want to commit to it and kind of want to utilize it. So, Giants versus the world. Put a talking in front of there. Giants versus the world, 7-4 at NYG_Survivor. Based on what you've seen from Wink this season, how do you expect him to adjust and key on to players like Terry McLaurin, Samuel, and Dotson with the obvious injuries at cornerback?
I don't like the idea that Wink didn't adjust at all in the Cowboys game. I think he did. They ran too high 23% of the time this past game versus Dallas, which is more than they usually do. In fact, I thought the best they ran. So they talk about, they didn't really run a lot of cover 0 this year. They used the threat of cover 0, and then back guys out and try and get simulated pressure. This game they ran cover 0 5 times. They hadn't ran it even 10 times all season long. But guess what, Justin? They ran it out of regular formations. Whereas we blitz the nickel, we blitz the Mike linebacker from his position. And then we have the safety covering the slot from deep and doing cover 0, but not giving you the obvious cover 0 looks like they did at the end of the Packers game when they were tipping the ball up versus Aaron Rodgers. So they did that, and that led to good stuff. Okay, and they ran cover 2 man, 2 high safeties, cover 2 man. They got 2 interceptions out of 2 high coverages this past week, and then the touchdown to Dalton Schultz. They basically triple teamed CeeDee Lamb on that. They put 2 safeties high. I remember being where's the other safety? They had Darnay Holmes and man on CeeDee Lamb, and then they had the safeties basically. It was basically a triple team of CeeDee Lamb because they love to go to CeeDee Lamb on 3rd and long, and they did it all game, not even successfully. And then Dalton Schultz just runs a great route versus Nick McLeod and beats him. So they're not going to totally change what they do, because I think this defense is going to get beat if they sit back in the zone too. So I do think there's made changes. It's not going to change his whole identity, but I do think Wink adjusted in this Dallas game.
I think Rodarius Williams played kind of well too.
Yeah, he did play well. Like he was like actually fairly well. This credit to Jerome Henderson, man. They have gotten the best out of some suspect guys.
Yeah, we didn't talk enough about that interception on Sunday, granted, in a loss. And by the time that we talk about the defense, we're kind of done. We're kind of done with the show. But yeah, no, credit to Rodarius Williams for kind of breaking on that football during that first interception on Sunday. That was against CeeDee Lamb too that he got that interception. You know, got the feet down. It was Gallup, excuse me. Well, Gallup was having Calvin Johnson first half. So.
Gallup also had like some great plays on third downs that converted drives. You know, there's a phantom Darnay Holmes holding that converted a drive. You know, and kept the drive going. Like I don't walk away from that Cowboys game and be like, man, Wink really blew it. I look like, hey, they made some key plays. The offense didn't help him a ton in the second half.
Yeah.
So.
I get the critique of playing coverage. Well, you know, that's easy. It's easier said than done. I saw that a ton on Twitter this week. I want Wink to play more coverage. Well, what does that mean? So
you sit this team back and just like and zone all day, and I think it almost kind of hurts these corners the way that this defense has been built. You can't just totally change your identity midseason. You can add more of it, which they did. Like I said, they ran 2 high coverages 23% of the time. They also don't really have the safeties to play 2 high either with Xavier McKinney out.
Right.
Like if Xavier McKinney was here, yeah, you could put Love as that other split safety or Pinnock as the other split safety. But you run too many 2 high coverages, we're actually going to start getting beat deep. Because teams are going to test them and make sure they're playing their responsibilities well. They're going to put them in conflict. So I'm for it. I'm fine with what Wink's doing. And I think he did make good adjustments versus the Cowboys. They only ran cover 1 20% of the time in pass plays. Usually that number is about 40 to 50%. And the rest are like cover 3 with a couple other coverages thrown in. So I thought it was fine. Why don't you read an ad? We'll skip the next question and then we'll finish it off.
All right. Yeah, I think we'll talk about that on the preview pod, right?
Bellinger helps a lot, and I think we've talked about it a lot. Sorry, Giants future. We had your question in there, but simple. 2-way tight end out of 11 personnel, 1 tight end formations, and a second 2-way tight end or second blocking tight end and 2 tight end formations will help the run game. It'll help defenses not key in on stuff. So yes, Daniel Bellinger will help a lot, and he's young, so I want Daniel Bellinger back. Sorry, Giants future. We're crunched for time.
No, like I said, I think we'll even talk about that on Friday, too. We'll talk about some of these guys returning and what that means. All right, let's talk about Manscaped. We do have one question left, so don't leave yet. It's never too early.
We're going to roast a Giants employee in it.
Oh, boy. A Giants employee that I can... When this Giants employee typed out this response, I could hear it exactly in the cadence that he would say in his voice. Oh boy, it's never too early to start playing that holiday music, or as Bobby likes to call it, the devil music. And it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. Whether it's for a gift or for the friends in your pants, you can make this a season to be jolly with Manscaped. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com/Giants for free shipping and 20% off. You can get the Platinum Package 4.0. This Platinum Package includes the Performance Package Plus, Ultra Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner, and Ultra Premium Deodorant. You got to take like a breath before you start reading all these products that Manscaped offers, because there's just so much, including the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Ball Toner. They can solve your stank problems. Get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/Giants. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com/Giants. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. You'll be glad you did. The final question is coming from Javi A. He asks, what's your take on this? And he's asking your take on a Lance Meadow tweet in response of Adoree Jackson returning punts. Yep, the Steelers used Antonio Brown as their main return man for many seasons. The fact that Mike Tomlin wasn't locked up for such a criminal act is egregious. I can't believe he had the audacity of using one of his skilled position active players.
Hey, dumbass. Did you remember that Antonio Brown was an offensive player who's used to being tackled? Hey, dumbass. Did you remember that Antonio Brown didn't have a history of getting injured every single game. Hey, did you realize that Antonio Brown going down wouldn't totally hamper the Steelers' offense like Adoree Jackson hampers the Giants' defense? Did you leave out that Antonio Brown had like 4 touchdowns returning punts in 4 years, while Adoree Jackson has never really did anything close to that in Tennessee? Awesome, it was great in USC. How come? So if Adoree Jackson is all this great punt returner, how come he didn't do it in the start of the season? Why come Richie James was signed to do that? I can't stand that, dude. Just have one opinion that goes against what Giants like. Just admit it. It was a stupid decision to put Adoree Jackson back there. There was the reward of it was nowhere near close to the risk. Shut up.
I'm trying not to do the voice.
I can't even do the voice. It's so bad.
I want to do it. I'm not going to do it, though. That's mean. I can't do it.
All right,
the fact that Mike Tomlin wasn't locked up for such a criminal act is egregious. You have to say, that wasn't the voice, but that was the cadence, and you got to say it that fast.
I can hear it in my voice.
I could hear it. You could hear it in your voice. I
can
hear
it in his voice. I can't say it, though.
I could hear it in my head very clearly. But if you're on radio, you have to have a certain cadence. Like, I think I have that radio cadence where if I want to talk fast, I'll talk fast. I've listened to myself talk on 1.5 speed before on podcasts, and it's a lot tougher than listening to you on 1.5 speed. It's like, slow down.
Up. Listen to that on 1.5 speed. All right, that's a mailbag. We'll be back on Friday with a preview pod of the Washington Command. I don't know if I'm calling them Washington. I think as we're getting closer, I'm starting to get used to calling them the Commanders. I will be up in Jersey for it, so come out. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.